there are going to be lots of opportunities in areas that we don't even know yet. And I'm not meaning in 10 years' time, I'm meaning in the next 2 years. My name's Alan Laing. I'm currently the Managing Director of IFS in the UK and Ireland. And as well as that, I have got, I'm the Chairman of FISCAL Technologies and the Chairman of Accounts IQ, which are non-executive positions where I chair the board of those two companies, both of whom are at the second stage of the development in that they have just raised finance to help their future growth. So they're startups, you may say. IFS is a global company, historically headquartered in Sweden, although the leadership team now mainly sit in the UK. There is a chief executive, well, there's a board of directors, which is the owners, if you like, who are a private equity company. These are companies that invest in businesses to help them fund their growth, but also to support the business. So there's a board of directors, a chief executive who runs the business globally, and then there's me in the country as the managing director. We have 3,800 people, of whom I'm responsible for around about, between the businesses, 1,000. I came from the northeast of Scotland, from a very small town, and it's quite a good a story in a way, because as I was leaving school to go to university and thinking what I wanted to do, the oil industry hit the northeast of Scotland, the oil boom. And the word on everybody's lips is, go to the oil industry. That's where the future is. That's where the money is. That's where opportunities are going to be, particularly in the northeast of Scotland, which had been largely, I mean, the only two industries up there were essentially paper making and agriculture. And so to be hit by the oil industry just fundamentally changed that whole region. But I was very naive. I started school, I wanted to be a journalist, and then somebody said to me, because I thought I could write and I was excited about newspapers and about writing things and getting stories and about politics. And then somebody said to me, forget it, mate, you're not tough enough to be a journalist. And I had never thought that a journalist was somebody that needed to be tough. And then when I started digging into it, I thought, ooh, you have to ask hard questions and people might not like you. So I kind of before I even got to my hires, which is the Scottish equivalent of the A levels, but it's slightly lower down than an A level, because it's done over 1 year. I changed tack and had this, and I can't remember how it arose, but I decided I wanted to be a lawyer. And that was my passion and what I thought I could do, because I was good in my feet, and I was, as you can still tell, there's a Scottish word called gobby, but that means you talk a lot and you're on stage. And so I thought I'd be great at this and debating and things. So a little naive about what being a lawyer was all about, but that's what I did, and that's what I geared my education towards, in terms of I was very good at English, very good at history, and absolutely rubbish at the sciences because I wasn't interested. So I left school, and I had a very strong northeast. You can tell I'm still Scottish, but this is a very refined one now. When I went to university in Edinburgh, I'd left a fairly large school in a town called Inverurie. I'd barely been to Edinburgh, maybe twice, and it's only 125 miles away, but it used to take 3.5 hours on the train. I'm not old enough that it was coaching horses, guys, so I'm not that bad. But I left, and nobody could understand what I was saying because I was still talking my dialect. I had a horrible grey duffel coat, which just looked awful. I wasn't trendy, I wasn't fashionable, believe me. And I hit this place with all these guys in the Faculty of Law at Edinburgh University who had been at public school together, and they were much more confident than me, and they knew each other. I was just not prepared, not ready, and never mind studying law. I wasn't ready for the life. I was homesick for the first 6 months, and I really struggled with it. And I can't remember when the breakthrough moment came. I probably was in the end of my second year, going into my third year at university before I started enjoying it really, because of all the challenges of just having to cope on my own, the challenges of getting myself understood. I, as an employer, will look more at what you've done with your time than necessarily how quickly you got onto the job ladder. And so I would urge caution. I would urge optimism, and not rushed it because you think that's, it's awful. I'm going to have to find a job. I mean, there are unfortunately a lot of people who can't do that because they need the wage packet, if you can put it that way, and I get that. But even within that, there are going to be new opportunities and new ways of approaching things, and I think the last year will change that. Firstly, new technology opportunities are going to come up, and new industries are going to sprout up. Look at what we're currently doing. Who had heard about Zoom 18 months ago? Yeah. So and home working is going to continue. I don't think anybody's going to go back, and I am passionately against this thing that home working is the new norm. I don't think that's true, and we don't think we want to think about that. But home working will be part of it. I think what is the new norm is people won't be going to the office in most cases, from 9 to 5 days a week. So people who are in the property business, in commercial property, looking at how they rent offices or build offices, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. The hospitality industry is going to have some impact on that, because where are people going to be for their lunch? It's already been hit. But hospitality in many other ways will be even better. I mean, there's going to be a big uptick in hospitality as soon as everything opens up again, because people are just... And the reason I say the thing about home working is people need people. And that's something throughout my career that I have loved, is interacting with people and, peers, people who work for me, people above me. You just need that human interaction at some point in the day. There are people who know what they want to do, particularly entrepreneurs. And I think this country needs more entrepreneurs, people who are prepared. They have an idea, they want to do something, and they want to do it their own way, and they want to start a business, or, that entrepreneurial spirit is either with you at the beginning, in which case you know where you're going and you want to do it, and there is loads of opportunity, despite all this stuff about COVID and all the rest of it, and what's going on, and what are career opportunities. There are going to be lots of opportunities in areas that we don't even know yet. And I'm not meaning in 10 years' time. I'm meaning in the next 2 years, maybe even this year. New things emerging. But don't rush, because if you don't know, take time. Follow your passion and decide what you're good at if you can. If you don't know, that's not a problem. And by the way, I think people are having to make up their minds, or think they're having to make up their minds, far too early. And I think take time and consider and think about what attributes you've got that you're interested in, and then develop those attributes. I mean, I also thought I would be the centre forward for Aberdeen Football Club, but I was completely useless at football. It's interesting that my passion is now rugby. So things change, and at 17, it's very early. And I've got a 19-year-old son at Glasgow University, and I just finished a conversation with him. He's doing engineering, but he's brilliant at English. Kind of like, Matthew, just pause for a minute. What do you want to do?